AEW was a really, really great show this week. I enjoyed it. And the first match was Matt Sydal versus Brian Cage. Before the match even started, Ricky Starks called out the TNT champion Darby Allin. And I think this would be a really, really great match for Darby's first title defense. And I think the FTW storyline fits for this because Starks and Darby, they really do not like each other at all. And so I'm definitely down to see a championship match between the two somewhere down the road. So the match, great start in the matchup for Brian Cage. Brian Cage stayed on Matt Sydal, not allowing him to get separation during the matchup. I love how Matt Sydal delivered that swinging, move planning Brian Cage on the mat in the center of the ring, and the double meteora on the ramp. That was cool. I enjoyed every second of that. And Matt Sydal, he is one of the most greatest high flyers in the world, and to see him on AEW is amazing. I'm hoping soon he can get a championship opportunity because he's one of my favorites to watch. He brings energy in the squared circle and in his matches, but you also got to think about Brian Cage. He's much larger and stronger. This match was hard hitting, and Brian Cage definitely delivered on point. And Cage has to be he is racking up wins here. He is just one win after the other, just taking everything he can to make sure that he stays stable and on top in AEW. And that's been very impressive so far and not surprising because of his in-ring ability. And the next match was The Butcher and the Blade versus the Natural Nightmares, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes in a bunkhouse match. Now, I got to say, this match was probably the best match of the whole show because it was extreme. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of tension between these two tag teams. And Dustin driving the Butcher through a chair on the outside floor. Dustin Rhodes driving the Butcher through a chair on the outside floor was really cool. And what I really enjoyed about this match was how Dustin went to the top and took Butcher to the top and drove him through the wooden platform on the stage, the rampway below, which was really cool. And this match was very, very extreme. And what I really enjoy seeing in this storyline between these two teams is the how far they're willing to go, how far these teams are really willing to battle back and forth with each other. In the storyline is just really connecting in a very good way. So far, this has been very interesting between the Natural Nightmares and the Butcher and the Blade. I really enjoy what I'm seeing in this storyline because these two teams and between these two teams, and I definitely think booking a match like this was a smart idea from AEW management and Tony Khan because it allows both teams to show off their skill in a different hard-hitting environment where much pain and endurance is delivered. So far, the Butcher and the Blade have done an amazing job making this angle very interesting with the Natural Nightmares. But I want to see more of QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes because we don't get as much screen time with them. We don't see them on TV a lot, so I'm hoping they get put against a top tag team talent down the road because that was phenomenal. That was outstanding. And I love how violent and extreme this match was and for how far both teams were going. And the turning point in the match for the Butcher and the Blade was the guitar to the head of QT Marshall, busting him wide open. Extreme matches are my favorite to watch because it puts everyone competing to the test. It really shows how far that they are willing to battle, how much they're willing to put their bodies on the line, and this was very well shown in this matchup. The Butcher and the Blade are 11-6 with their tag team record, and that doesn't go unnoticed because they are a strong tag team in AEW and one of my favorites to watch, and I hope to see them challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championships down the road. This match was very physical, and I loved the environment of it. The performance from QT and Dustin was just unbelievable and just so unreal. I think if you put Dustin and QT in more matches like that, they are just going to be able to continue to be impressive and rack up wins on AEW Dynamite. And now the next match was Shawn Spears versus Scorpio Sky. Shawn Spears is on an 11-match winning streak in AEW. I think pushing him this way is a smart idea because in WWE they didn't really push him as much, and he wasn't booked often, and he was unutilized. But now he's in a position where he can rise up as a huge superstar, and so far he has, with Tully Blanchard backing him and in his corner. And I think Shawn Spears needs a bigger opportunity and one where he can climb up the ladder as an AEW competitor. As far as Scorpio Sky goes, Scorpio Sky has been a part of SCU for a very, very long time, and I like how AEW is giving him a singles run, and I want to see more of him because Scorpio amps up the matches, the competition, and brings the heat, and he's absolutely skilled in the ring and just phenomenal to watch. Like every time he's in a match, he brings his best. He brings his best skill, and he pretty much did in this match against Shawn Spears. But Shawn Spears was able to capitalize and come back and win that match. So as far as the match goes, I love how Scorpio uses air acrobatic moves in the ring, and it shows how much he's able to take things in a match and go with it. Shawn Spears definitely delivered in this match with the high impact hits, hitting moves, and made the match enjoyable to watch. So that was very good. The drop on the sidewalk slam on the steel steps, the super kick when Scorpio Sky jumped from the steel steps and tried to deliver a crossbody, that was unbelievable. It's just great to see how skilled and how timed perfectly these matches are and like how they turn out. So that was very good. So the next match was Tyconte versus Red Velvet. Love how Tyconte opened the match immediately, pinning Red Velvet in the corner. And you can tell Ty is remarkably skilled, being that she has a martial arts background, and she went to work on Red Velvet, pinning her down multiple times in this match. Ty has been in the wrestling business for 3 years, and already she is showing everyone why she belongs in AEW, and she definitely should be one to look at and watch, and her performance here was very on point. As for the AEW women's division, I think AEW needs to add more women to their singles roster because there just isn't enough fresh faces to go around, and I feel like they need more of that. If they can sign on more women to compete in AEW, then there's a chance for this women's division to be successful rather than having some people compete often. The same people compete in the same cycle is what I'm saying. So I think they definitely need to change it up. I feel like the AEW women's roster needs to be amped up a bit and things need to be changed around. Now the next match was Rave Phoenix versus Penta L0M. The first match between Penta and Ray was very awesome. That was like phenomenal. Just the match that I saw before this one that they did was probably one of the best AEW Dynamite matches ever. And this one was amazing too because these two brothers, they know each other very well, and they tore it up in that squared circle. Seeing them go at it in singles competition is awesome because these guys are two of the best luchadors in the world and in wrestling. So they know how far they must go to put on a fantastic showing of sports entertainment. The second match between Penta and Rey Fenix, this match here was very well done, very well booked, and what happened at the end was very interesting, but we'll get to that in a little bit here. After the match, we saw Eddie Kingston, and Eddie Kingston told Penta L0M that he doesn't need his deadweight brother, and then Pac made his return to AEW, which I kind of figured Pac was going to return at some point. I felt like this was going to be the week that he was going to return, and he definitely did. And now Eddie Kingston is a marked man, and now Pac has his sights set on Eddie Kingston. And I have a feeling Pac is going after Kingston, and it's going to come down to who really is the leader of Rey Fenix and Penta L0M. Is it Eddie Kingston or is it Pac? And that's what it's going to come down to. I feel like Pac and Eddie Kingston are going to have a match, and I'm hoping it's going to be a very, very good match, and I cannot wait to see where this leads and how this turns out in this storyline. Now, a big announcement has been made for AEW because Kenny Omega will take on John Moxley for his AEW World Heavyweight Championship, and I believe Kenny is going to be the one to take the title from Moxley this time. I highly believe it, because Moxley, he's been on a hot streak, and Omega said that he's the same Omega, the same Kenny Omega that we've seen in New Japan, and he never left, and he's just been waiting for the opportune moment to show that he's one of the best athletes in the world, and he will prove it when he goes face to face with John Moxley for his AEW title. So overall, AEW this week was good, and I give it a 8.1 out of 10. It was good. It had some good twists and turns. There were a few good matches, but I feel like there just wasn't enough there wasn't enough showing of storylines or segments. And that's what makes AEW interesting. The segments, the storylines, and the matches. The matches were good. We just needed more of angles and segments there. So overall, that was good. And now we are going to get into NXT this week. So the NXT North American Championship match, Johnny Gargano versus Leon Ruff. We saw the match open with Gargano being full of himself and using a wheel the same way he won at Halloween Havoc off a wheel. And he felt like that wheel was going to help him, and it just really things took a turn of the worst for Johnny Gargano, and he picked Leon. The wheel landed on Leon Ruff, and Leon Ruff, he made no mistake going after Johnny Gargano in this match. And Johnny Gargano, he can bend things his way and make things happen his way, but unfortunately, it was an opportunity of a lifetime for Leon Ruff. You saw during the match, Johnny Gargano turned his attention to Damian Priest, which was a big mistake, and it cost Johnny the matchup, and he ended up costing himself the title. And it was a huge accomplishment and achievement for the young man Leon Ruff, who capitalized on his opportunity from the wheel and in this match. So I like how NXT is giving young talent, fresh talent, a chance to grow and be a huge star, and I want to see more of Leon Ruff. I want to see what they're going to be able to do. I want to see what NXT is going to do with him. And I'm very interested to see how they build him up with the NXT, with the North American Championship in the next couple weeks. The next match was Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Santos Escobar, he is one of my favorite luchadors so far in WWE. He's great. He knows how to be villainy. He gets a lot of heat from the fans, and I just love it. I just love how good he is at that. So Jake Atlas has become a very serious, aggressive competitor, and we saw that this week. We saw him attack moments before NXT outside in the parking lot. They showed a clip where Jake Atlas attacked Santos Escobar and his group. And I think what's driving him to be this way is taking advantage of Legado del Fantasma and calling out the champion like he did there this week. And Jake Atlas has come a long way since his time on Evolve, and he's made a namesake for himself in his career so far. Jake Atlas endured a lot from Santos Escobar in the matchup, but what surprised me is how tough Jake Atlas is and that he's willing to put himself on the line in order to win. Definitely one of my favorite NXT athletes, and Santos Escobar has been amazing to watch and brings a different style to Lucha Libre. And instead of continuing to don a mask, he painted himself a new idea and gave himself a new opportunity to play at. And that's what I like about Escobar the most. And Escobar was quick to turn the tables on Jake Atlas, who gave his all in that championship performance. And it was definitely a great matchup, but I love how NXT is keeping the championship on Escobar longer because he's a great villain-type wrestler, and I love it when he gets quick heat because it only makes him look more good and more stronger, and he's a great performer.